Yeah. Look, say it with me. Okay. Real time. Prince Blue. Real time. Prince Blue. Talk that. Coach. Talk that. Coach. Talking entertainment too. Look, we are not the same as you. Look, we don't need a thing, just you. Just making sure the gang come through.
What is going on, everybody? We live. This is Real Time with Prince Blue, and of course, I'm your host, Prince Blue, and I hope everybody's good. Everybody is safe. Thank you for joining us. Of course, there's nobody here right now, but they will be here in a little bit. But I have a very special guest here. They're all special, but this one is more on the unique side because we've been Twitter peeps for shoot. I went to DM her the link, and the last time I DM'd her was in 2015 because I wanted information about CrossFit shoes, the proper shoes to wear to CrossFit. Because I was wearing some leaked over New Balances, if I remember, and it just wasn't working. And she was nice enough to give me some advice on some shoes. But now I finally have her on today with us, and let me read you her bio because she has a lot going on. You can find her. Well, I'll let her give her Twitter at, but I have with me Sig, who by her own admissions, I asked all my guests to give me a bio because it gives me a lot about them and it gives me stuff to ask about. She is a South Jersey Jawn through and through, a barista by trade. She fancies herself a CrossFit enthusiast, a lover of Bard. I have to ask what Bard is. And all things horror and true crime. In her spare time, Sig enjoys torturous workouts, superfluous tattoo sessions, and destroying the patriarchy. I love that last part. So we gonna get into that one. But the one and only Sig at Sig Esquire 03 from Twitter. Thank you, ma'am. How are you? Thank you for joining me.
Oh, I'm great. Prince, thank you for having me. I'm so lucky to be here. I know we were talking earlier and I said I badgered you for it. I kind of feel I did, but I'm happy that it worked.
Listen, no, first of all, I'm honored if somebody badgers me to come on because normally I have to do the badgering. But no, you did not badger. All you said was, I'm waiting on my invite. So I took that as a, well, then let's go. For those who don't know, Sig is on Twitter. Um, she's not she's not colorful like some of the other people on Eagles Twitter, but she makes her tweet, she's done with it, and she makes her impact, and then she sweeps off. So, see, let's start with. I like to start with some icebreakers, and I want to know. Let the people know what what is your favorite color.
What is my favorite color? Um, well, it's black. It's black. Which some would say is the absence of color, but whatever. It's black. But I wanted to clarify because I know people are going to be like, "You didn't tell me." So if I made a mistake, it's probably on me. It's my fault. I meant a barrister, which is what I, which is but I might as well be a barista. I spend all my money on coffee, as it is. But I'm embarrassed.
What is a barrister? Please
it's
enlighten us.
it's just what the British call their attorneys,
Uh,
barristers. And I just use that to be sassy.
See, I wasn't going to bring it up, but for those who don't know, I'm on. Listen, you got a retired police officer with a current lawyer, attorney, esquire, uh, super Murphy Brown, whatever it is you names you got for attorneys. I'm talking to one right here. Tell me, let's talk about that a little bit. Tell me what made you get into law, and how early of age did you know that's what you wanted to get into?
Well, I can lie. you know, and tell the story about, you know, when I was a little kid, I asked for law books instead of, you know, Garfield or whatever. That's not the truth. It took a while, a long time. I actually wanted to be an epidemiologist.
Okay,
Um,
again, you're killing me. What is an epidemiologist? Is
well,
that skin?
it's a doctor who's no, it's a doctor who studies diseases.
Oh, okay,
Yeah,
okay,
and,
okay.
and and so real quick, I won't. This is not really important, but I watched this movie when I was a small child. I wasn't that small, but anyway, I was a child. It was called "And the Band Played On," and it was about the AIDS epidemic. It was fictitious.
Okay.
It ended up being fictitious because it was off of a false premise, but it just blew my mind about what the doctors had managed to do in a relatively short amount of time in the 80s and late 70s, early 90s. And so I was like, oh, I want to do that. And I'm kind of macabre, got an interest in, I mean, I grew up watching Faces and Traces of Death, right? I mean, kids probably shouldn't watch that, but they said it was a good idea to let little Saran watch Faces of Death. So, you know, the autopsies and things, I wanted to be an epidemiologist. If I wasn't going to be that, I was going to be a pathologist. You know, I was going to be doing autopsies for a living. But then math hit me, and I realized that I'm better with words. And so I took some time off of, when I graduated Temple. I took some time. I taught, and I realized that that wasn't for me. Bless the teachers, but I'm not one. And so I took the LSAT because I was looking for something, and so it worked out. You know,
Who? First of all, you said I took the LSAT because I was looking for something like you was going to the mall to see if you could pick up a pair of socks. Like nobody just takes the LSAT. For anybody that knows that for those who don't know, the LSAT is it's the I want to say it's the what's the thing we had to take in high school?
it's like the SAT.
Yeah, it's the SATs for attorneys, but it's 10 times worse because they're like, they got to get a high score. They got to make sure their score is on par with everybody else they think that it needs to be on par with. And it's nerve wracking. And Sigga said she took it like she just went to the store and decided to get a soda. And that's what she did. Like, explain that. Like, how do you go from studying skin to I'm just gonna take the LSAT and see where it lays.
Well, because so that was an interest that I had that when I was growing up and when I was in high school. But at Temple, I was a psychology major, right? And
You
so you know
show
I
off. You
enjoyed that.
show
I actually
off.
took a lot of like behavioral pathology classes because you know that's kind of person I am. So I sort of left the epidemiology alone, not on purpose, but it's just the way. When I had to take 2 science courses, and I was like, I don't like them, and it's just the tip of the iceberg. I don't want to hard pass the
Hmm.
whole doctor thing because you know that's all science and math, and I can do it, but I don't enjoy it, and it takes a little bit more time for me than it is for me to write something, right? So that's how that happened. It was sort of incidentally put to the put to the side. Now I just watch that stuff in my spare time. But so and then yeah, so I took the LSAT and I was in Arizona and I applied to other schools, but we were in Arizona and I was like, okay, I'm not going to go back to Temple. I'm not going to go back across the country. I'm going to stay in the at the University of Arizona. So that's where I went to law school and then did my 3 years, took the bar and passed it, thankfully on the first time. And so, you know, the rest is, as they say, history. Um, so that was that.
Now we have a mutual at Chip Reederson. We have a mutual.
Yes.
And my guy, like normally when we talk about people it's to make fun of them, but it's one person that you want to talk about when you can like you feel somebody feels passionate about a person which they speak. I don't want to make you like blush or anything, but like he always told me he was like, yo, Sig is the most down to earth person that you can meet. And within the first 5 minutes, it showed because you're literally talked about the bar, being a doctor, going to Arizona State, not wanting to go to Temple, all these things that people drive themselves crazy, either trying to do, can't do, for various reasons. Either they're not smart enough, they don't study hard enough, it's just bad breaks. And you did them all, and you talk about it as if you're ordering breakfast. I didn't want to go to Temple, so I stayed out in Arizona State, did my 3 years, took the bar. Like, you know how it is. When you talk to a lot of attorneys or doctors, they pretty much wear their credentials on their chest. They're like, well, I had multiple choices. I decided on this, and they try to give you why they didn't take that and this, and they talk about how hard it was. But you're just saying it as if it's just a normal thing. Was it that normal when you were going through it, or is it something where you just like it was a path for me to take? I did it, and now I'm just looking forward.
I I can be a braggart about many things, but something like this, I don't ever walk around like I'm better than anyone, because I understand that me being able to do what I did, I had so much help. I don't believe in the whole bootstrap bullshit. I'm sorry if I curse, if I'm not allowed to curse or not.
No, that's fine. We curse on this fucking show. Go ahead.
But I can't stand it. And I have to say, I went to the University of Arizona, bear down, not Arizona State. That's like the rival.
Okay, so Arizona.
Yeah,
so
University of Arizona. Yeah.
University of Arizona. Gotcha. Okay,
Yeah.
go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, because they'll harm me unless I correct that. But no. So I know that. I mean, I know for a fact. I'm going to answer your question and sort of rope this in. It wasn't easy for me. I mean, I had at the, what was it, toward the end of my first year, in my second year, 2009, so my second year, I had my daughter. And and even before then, pregnancy in law school was hard. Baby in November, when you got finals in a couple of weeks, is hard. And then caring, for her afterwards is difficult. But it may be impossible unless you have your support from your family, of course, and also when you have people from your school who looked out for you, who went above and beyond for you, and didn't have to. I had deans watching her in class, and they could have been like, "Sorry, you got to find a babysitter. Good luck." When her dad was away or working or whatever, I had to take her to school, and deans were having her on the floor. Everybody wanted to watch her. I was so lucky that way. And I had friends who did great things for me. So I don't, I know, but for them, I couldn't have done it. And I would have been somewhere else. And as far as law school was like, I always say, it's not like you see on TV. It's really not. But it is high stakes because you tend to have everything riding on this one freaking exam for most of your classes, right? At least for your first year. Everything's riding on this. You have no other tests, no other grades. It's just this exam, and it holds everything in its hand for you. I'll share this one sad story, and I haven't thought about it in a while. I'm thinking about it now. The pressure is great. When we were and I wasn't a 1L, we had a friend. He was older than I think he was 2L or 3. He might have been 2L. We had something called bar review, right? You heard of bar review?
No, please.
Well, yeah, it's not what you think. It's not about studying for the bar. It's about reviewing different bars every week. Okay.
Oh, okay.
So we go to bars on Wednesday nights. We were in bars, and so our last bar review together was at a bar called Bashful Bandits in Tucson. And 3 days later, me and my buddy, who's also his friend, are in class together, and we get an email from one of the deans saying that he committed suicide. And as I think about it now, I'm thinking about all of us had the same, reaction. We just saw him. We literally just hung out, and it was devastating. But at the same time, there were people who were in medical school who were jumping, and there had 1 or 2 suicides in the engineering department, I believe. So it's a lot to these professional programs, right? Because a lot of people put everything they have into doing this. They put their lives on, literally on the line for these costly degrees with no promise, mind you, of a job afterwards.
And I understand exactly what you're saying, and that's why, I don't know if you know or not, but I start my doctoral program in January for my criminal justice degree.
Congrats.
Thank you. And I'm telling you, when I ask people, I'm like, how can I prepare? How can I do this, do that? The most satisfying advice I got from somebody, they was like, you got a family? I said, yeah. They say, enjoy them. Like, don't psych yourself up. Don't do any of that. Enjoy yourself. When it's time for school, it's time for school. But it's like this. I see it when I see people. You have some people that say, "Man, I did everything and I didn't do my dissertation." And I'm like, how would you go through all that time and not do your dissertation? But some of them said they cracked towards the end and they just didn't have anything left. And some people say, they never wanted to do it for them. They were doing it for their family and they wasn't really into it. And then I see some of the tuition, and I'm like, I can not that I can understand, but I see why it's so much pressure, so much anxiety, and a lot of people are hurting themselves and mentally being unwell when pursuing these professional degrees because we're told that this is still America and education is something that nobody can take away from you. Then you got people saying college is worthless, and then you got some people that's saying you got to get your education. So I need to ask you, of course you have it, I have it, but what is your feelings on the college is worthless crowd versus the you got to get your education crowd? Where do you stand? Of course you having a degree, but
Right.
where do you
Um,
stand?
well, I wanted to I want to sort of clarify that I'm in no way saying that that law school exclusively was the reason why my friend felt
Correct.
so much despair. I don't know. It was probably a consequence of many things, and I really don't know obviously what he was struggling with because nobody, apparently none of his friends knew. So I just want to say that, and for the others as well, I can't speak to the particulars. But it came out later that he felt pressured by the internal need or the external need for him to succeed, probably in addition to the program. But all that being said, I'm a firm believer that if you can get a trade, because I know some plumbers who are making
That's
bank,
making
living
bank.
well, okay?
Six figures, welders,
Well,
electricians. I had a guy who quit my police department and now he's making six figures doing heating and cooling.
yep, yeah, right. Why not? If you can find something you're good at and can make a living, I don't care if you have a degree from some college and you have a bachelor's or a master's or a PhD, whatever. Who cares? If you find something you're good at and you can get paid and you enjoy it, you're winning. Like, why go into horrific debt because society tells you have to? And that's why so many of our generation, I feel so bad, are saddled with this horrific debt. And it's not exclusively why, but part of the reason is because if they really took the time to go back, if they could have a time machine and wind that bad boy up and get in it and go back, they'll realize that they were never really given an opportunity, right? A choice in the matter. You either went to school, right? Or you got out of the house or you went to the military. But usually it was you had to go to school. You were going to school. And you're like, well, I had no, you don't major in anything for 4 years. You're in school for 7. It's a 4-year program because you have no direction. You shouldn't be there. You should be somewhere else that's made for you. So I don't take a hard line on that. If you, I tell them, we've been telling my daughter that, you don't have to go to college. It would be nice if you would like to, just because I would like to join my sorority. But I mean, I digress. But
We're gonna get into that too.
yeah, that's my benefit for her. But she has to be a part of society in whatever way she finds a way to do it. But I'll support you. But no one, I'm like, you have to go to college. Oh, Mom, I don't want to do it. Go ahead. And it's like 4 years later, she got $150,000 in debt she can't ever pay. And she's miserable at a job that she just needs to have a degree with anyway.
and you know what? That makes a lot of sense because when I got into, I left for the military. I got out of the military. I worked, I worked at Finish Line, for a while. I did a whole bunch of temp jobs. Then I became a correction officer. Went through the training program, and then I got the call for Charlotte Mecklenburg Police Department, and then I took that, and then that's where I ended up going and retiring from. But I did all that with just a high school degree,
Mm-hmm.
and I was doing college here and there, like trying to push through like technical colleges. I went to a couple 4-year colleges, but never quite finished. So I was in and out. And then I remember when it came time, and when I was in working, and I just noticed that people around me were like, they were making themselves marketable, like, and that included a lot of things, whether it was a trade or it was school. So I just started taking online classes, and I really got the bug, and I just kept going through it, and then boom, bachelor's. And I was like, okay. Then I was like, oh, what will it hurt? Go get your master's.
Right.
And then I did that too. I was just always pushing towards doing something, but I also saw people working towards welding certifications, working towards coding, working towards being nurse practitioners or certified nurse aides, something. And I was just as proud of them as I was proud of myself getting a degree, because you're doing something you love. You're doing
Right.
something you're passionate about. And I hate the fact that there's this stigma of you have to go into great debt to be somebody in society. You do not have to do that. And I love the fact that people that do have degrees and have those standards are telling people you don't have to do what I did. Get a trade. You like video games? How would you like to design them? Go
Right.
see how video games are made. Do that. Do this. Do that. So I love that. That's one of the things that you're pushing on your daughter, which I want to talk about, you being a mom and all your ventures and hobbies. Let's get into that. So, for those who don't know, you're you're a CrossFit enthusiast, and one thing about you, I can say this now that I got you. You were one of the reasons why I actually started getting into fitness and wanting to better myself, because it was nothing like, anytime I was on Instagram, what would I see? Sig doing a burpee, Sig doing a deadlift, Sig doing a personal PR of something. Even during the pandemic, like, you turned your garage into a box. For those who don't know, that's what CrossFit called where they work at. They call it a box. You did not let the pandemic stop you. So please, can you tell us where your enthusiasm for fitness came in to play?
Yeah. So I guess it's always been there, right? I'm sort of like, well, when folks ask when I became an Eagles fan, I said, well, when I came out the womb, or when I buried myself in my mother's uterus, right? I was already a fan. She didn't realize it yet, but it's the truth. I don't know, because I grew up around boys, right? And so
Oh,
I spent most of my time outside with them because that's where they were. I was one of the only girls. I was the only girl, I think, in the area, right? In our immediate area. So, I mean, who was I going to play with them, of course? And we were outside climbing trees, playing basketball, playing Killer Man, which is like every man for himself football, if you don't know, which is highly dangerous. But, doing things like that.
concrete, grass,
Yeah,
anything. You playing
anything
Killer
in
Man with the
between
ball.
cars. That's so I was always, active, and then I played basketball, I ran track in school, and so when I stopped doing that competitively, I was trying to find something to fill in that time. I was playing intramural, whatever. And then I started just going to the gym and lifting, because I never really did that solely. I would do it for the sport I was in at the time, but not really on its own. Then I had a friend who kept pushing CrossFit, kept pushing it. He's like, you need to stop with that bullshit you doing and do CrossFit. I was like, I'm happy where I am. And yeah, this went on for years. I'm like, I think I'm okay right now, right here. But finally, I tried it. I was actually in Texas, and I went to this. It wasn't really a CrossFit program. It was a combat fit, but it was very similar. So I went there and I took one class. I was like, you know what? This shit is great. It's competitive, and I'm super competitive. It's a competition every day. And some of the things just came natural for me. So, it was a way for me to always, it was a way for me to compete every day against myself and against other people. So I fell in love with that. And then when I realized that, there was complicated Olympic lifting crap and I could do muscle ups and I just fell in love with the effort it took, right? The fear sometimes with doing these things, like, am I going to be able to lift this? Should I lift this again? The community is great. I mean, we get a bad rep for being cultists, right? Or cult-like, because, you see all those memes around Twitter, right? I asked one person about CrossFit. Here I am 45 minutes later, and it's John's with her hand in her head. It's like, she's about to go to sleep. It's true. We talk about this shit like all day long because we love it. And I love to suffer. So the more miserable it is, the more I'm like, this, in a moment, I'm like, I'm going to die. I can't possibly die. But I'm going back tomorrow and I'm going to do something worse, maybe. So that's where that came from. It was just, I wanted the competition. I needed it. I needed something to fill in that, the void I had. And also I got to meet some great people along the way. And so, so that was it. But I love it. I mean, I know CrossFit has had an issue recently with the shakeup of the organization. And I found myself at a crossroads like, well, should I distance myself from it? Because there were some not too pleasant, bigoted, prejudiced comments, racist comments being tossed around by the then CEO. And I'm sure it wasn't just him, because it really never is it? I mean, you're saying it to somebody. No. And someone probably saying,
As you can see with the emails, it never stops with just one person.
Yeah, it's never just one.
Right. So, talk about that a little bit. So, of course, during the past election, there was a lot of, back and forth, sides versus sides, and you had a lot of people that own businesses, Papa John's, CrossFit, you name it. They will make some racist ass comments, and they would forget that their consumer base is not necessarily the people that their consumer base is made up of the people that they are saying racist stuff about, and then they have to backtrack. And by then the battle lines are drawn. So talk about that a little bit. Something that you love, you go through every day, you believe in it, you work blood, sweat, tears to people next to you. The election happens, and you start seeing little things where you're like, when we was doing burpees, you didn't feel this way. Like, what are you saying now? So talk about that a little bit. Let's get into it.
You opened one big ass can of worms with that, because
I love opening worms.
Those just them crawling around up the wall. Now they're gonna be on my shirt. That's how packed that can was you opened. Let me start by saying this past election for me has been personally devastating, because it had and illuminating both. And in the same way, it illustrated to me the character of people I thought I knew. I realized that I probably was just the cool Black John, right? I was when I was
cool about it.
You know what I'm saying? I was wondering, because there was no strife, right? There was no confrontation, not confrontation, but there was no angst or nothing in contention like it was when we got into this election season. Then sort of lines were drawn, but they kind of made lines themselves, right? But when that happened, all of a sudden I wasn't as popular for some people, and I saw a change in. I mean, it was like a 180. So with the box, I was. How can I put this without putting this? There are some people who I know, unfortunately, are just felt that my constant push for equity and fairness for everyone is not what they wanted to hear. Which surprised me, because that's how I've always been. It was like, why are you acting like this is as if you just look at me for the first time now? It's because I remind you that I was Black, or that you were reminded of that, or suddenly like, wait a minute, she's Black. You mean tell me all this time she's been hiding this secret from me? That's what it was like. It was like they just realized what I was, and so now I was like sort of like shunned. And so with CrossFit, with the CrossFit in particular, which is funny, when you start saying that the community or the audience that that perhaps these companies were speaking against its audience or their audiences. I have to say with CrossFit, not so much, because I've always complained about, and some of the handful of Black athletes we have complained about the fact that CrossFit is very monolithic, not diverse.
Okay.
And it's sad, and there are many reasons for that, but it's just not diverse. I've been in boxes and it's been fine, and nothing ever has happened, but I've been the only face of color. I can go to any box and guarantee you'll be one. I'll be the only one, or there'll be maybe one or two, unless you go to boxes that are owned by a people of color. Otherwise, not going to happen.
Why do you think that is, Sig? Why do you think the Black community has not embraced CrossFit as they embrace any other competitive sport?
It's probably there are probably many reasons for this, but I'll give you what I think. A few of these reasons based on my experience in the community. And like I said, I've had great experience in boxes. I've dropped in the box. I've never felt uncomfortable in any place. But what I can say is maybe, now I'm different, right? I've moved around different circles, right? So for me, being the only Black Jawn in the room is normal. I say that and I mean it. Like I typically am. And I've gotten used to it. But if you're not used to that and you go into a box and you're surrounded by people who don't look like you and you're paying an exorbitant amount of money, you might say, why am I paying all this money to be uncomfortable? Just because there isn't a representation, you might feel like, well, I could save my $200 something and go spend $10 at Planet Fitness where I feel more comfortable for whatever reason and pocket $190 or whatever. That's one that you don't see yourselves in the place and maybe you don't want to go there because of that. Understandable. Two is a cost. It's expensive, like I just said. It's getting more expensive. But for instance, Capitol Hill CrossFit, which is not too far from me right now, is upwards of $275 a month, probably almost $3. Yeah,
man,
a month, and they will get their money as they should every time. The first or 15th, whatever your cycle starts, you're gonna get. It's gonna come out. So they want to get it, and it's a lot of money.
Yeah. We don't play that. Black people don't play that.
Right.
First and the 15th, it should be rent and your car payment, not a whole nother $200 where you like, nah.
And again, when you add that to the fact that you don't see anybody like yourself, and maybe you're looking for that after work, right? Maybe you don't have that at work. You're the only one, and you don't want to spend more time outside of work, again, feeling like you're alone. And that's because CrossFit never really made a true effort. And this new ownership crew is supposed to be making a concerted effort of applying itself to communities of color, because they really haven't. The handful of athletes who have spoken out about this, Easy Muhammad and Elizabeth Ekenwale, two are probably the biggest Black CrossFit athletes we've ever had professionally, are both out essentially of the professional sport now, right? They do their own thing. Elizabeth doesn't even associate with CrossFit anymore. Easy sort of does his thing, but he's not really a pro athlete. She's been thinking about it for years. When this whole thing blew up, she's like, I told y'all this was happening. And they ignored her and apparently him, right? Because again, we're not the community. We are a part of it, but we're not the target because we don't make up a 0.9%, 0.01%, 0.09%.
Yeah,
maybe?
You're not the dollars. You're not the main consumer.
No.
Correct. And you're minority enough to where they can just gloss over it. But when you have sponsors like Reebok, who includes the sneaker culture, which Black people, we love our sneakers. He had to backtrack a little bit. He had to clean that up because Reebok was like, hey, listen.
Yeah.
I got deals with XYZ, Shaq, whatever. You can't be no. You gotta clean this up. Like, I know CrossFit is his own thing, but you with us now. We global.
Yeah.
Fix it. Yeah.
And that's exactly what happened, because McGlassman was ousted, right? And it happened, relatively quickly or whatever. And it was like, okay, great. And it was funny, right? I'm not talking down to them, but there's some athletes who said, we're not going to be a part of this until it's resolved. And so Glassman got after giving it some thought, we come right back. I'm like, okay, you know what? A lip service here. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Now you're speaking my language, because you know my Twitter account. I go at the so-called fighters and allies that put the hashtag in their bio and think that's enough, or they fake virtue signal, and then you get tweets from said people saying some of the most vile and irreprehensible racist stuff,
yeah,
and then I'm sitting there like, I told y'all, I told y'all. I told y'all, stop giving out invites to the cookout. Stop assuming everybody is an ally because they doing this. Everybody can do this, because right now the cancel culture is large, and people are more afraid to lose Twitter followers than actually mean what the hell they are saying. So when somebody like, I don't think George Floyd this, or I don't think it's unfair to treat gay people so, and then what do you see next? A tweet, an email, or something where they're the total opposite.
yep.
And you're like, well, look at that. So speak on that a little bit, because you're very outspoken on equality, like not bridging the gap, but like, hey, let's start treating people, like we want to be treated, and stop, being so indifferent. And you're very passionate about that through your career, through your CrossFit, through how you raise your daughter. So talk about that, and that aspect of you being a breaking news, a black woman, an attorney, a successful one, a successful CrossFit person, a successful mother. So talk about how all that comes together when you're navigating your different parts of your life.
I mean, I just always think that I can dislike a person for many reasons, and I do. None of which has to do anything about some immutable characteristic or something to do with who they want to go to bed with tomorrow, the next day, or what's in their pants or what's in their bras or what. Who cares? Like, really, like, I'm really like, I'm that white monkey gift all the time. People like when people. So now I'm in Virginia, and I see so many like stickers on people's cars. The craziest always like "don't tread on me" bullshit, which I love. Become like, FYI, the government treads on your ass every day. You see that stop sign, you're gonna stop, and they stop. That's the government running your ass, right? That red light, I bet you stop, and you do, right? So the government been treading on you. I hate to be the bearer of bad news. This ain't new, okay? That's his job. But anyway, I can go on that all day long. But it bothers me so much when I just see it so blatantly, or even worse, when it's like in disguise. So I the dog whistle bullshit, the microaggressions, the fugazi. I'm going to try to be covert with it. No, have to encourage your convictions. If you feel ballsy enough, you feel frog, you jump, right? If you feel like about this, say it with your whole entire chest. And deal with the consequences. Be willing to deal with the consequences, because there always are consequences for what you say. And so, as you know, I do civil rights. I think I've almost exclusively done civil rights, other than some things here and there. I know in all plaintiffs' work. So these are people who've been discriminated against in one way or another, in some of the most horrific ways, or have been trampled on. Their rights have been violated, right, by the government. Not your right to wear, your right not to wear a mask doesn't fucking exist. First of all, because you wear a seatbelt in a car. Because government told you, after people started dying in the 70s from not wearing seatbelts, they were drinking, and you know how they drink and drive, and they say all crazy. They say seatbelts in the car might be a safety thing, might be a good idea, and they did it. You wear a seatbelt or you get a ticket. To me, it's the same thing. It's like, even if I am healthy, someone else might not be, or if I think I am, I may not be. Wearing a mask is not that big of a deal. It really is not. It's not a violation. I really don't understand. I can't, because I don't have it, but this the entitlement and the privilege that comes with such angst and anger over this is something I can't even begin to grasp. But it comes from privilege, right? Because someone's telling you for the first time, maybe your entire life, that you can't do something. And how are you going to deal with that?
And there it is. That's what a lot of this. Because take honesty. I hate wearing a mask. I don't wear it if I don't need to. But I always have it with me. So say for instance, there's Concord Mills Mall. Some stores you don't have to wear it. Some stores you do. And I remember me and my father, we went into the polo store, and she was like, "I'm so sorry, gentlemen. Do you have masks?" We was like, "No, ma'am, we don't." She's like, "I'm sorry, you need a mask to enter here." And she was like, "I'm so sorry." I was like, "No." I was like, "Don't apologize. Like, now we know that, we need a mask for the store. This is our favorite store in the mall. Next time we come through, we'll make sure we have a mask."
Right.
But she apologized. She apologized. And I felt it because I know somebody probably gave her a hard time about that. And I'm like, it's like, if you want to buy polo, wear a mask. If you don't, shop online. It's
Right.
as simple as that. I'm not going to go in anybody's store and tell them what I am and not going to do, blah, 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 blah. Like, it's not that serious to me. Some people pick these weird heels that they want to get strong on and get stupid over, and you see the videos where they're carrying it up and this and that and the third, and I'm like, it's not about that. Like, I just don't get it.
It's the audacity for me. It's the audacity of me thinking that I have the right to go into a place of business that I don't own and have someone whose job it is who doesn't want to do it anyway. I see all the time people when they have to approach a person to tell them that our mask
Oh,
policy, they don't want to
oh
do that. And then you
no,
come
they
and
don't.
not only do you not sometimes comply, you want to argue with people who are just doing what they're told to do. You want to get physical sometimes. And I tell you what, I don't advocate violence. This is not, I'm not, and I'm not a proponent of that. But one day, one of these people are going to learn they cannot holler in everyone's face. It's just going to come a time. Like
Hollering and spitting and
it,
like,
you can't. It's just like, why would you? I saw the other day, for instance, there was a guy. Nothing happened like this, but he made it a point. He was trying to take a stand. He's standing up for his liberty, and he had his mask completely under his chin, knowing everyone else had a mask on, and he was supposed to wear a mask in here, and he did that purposefully. I saw him. I knew he had it down, and I was like, ordinarily, I will say something but I'm not today. I'm not in the mood, and it won't end well for me to be arguing with this older gentleman. And also, I like to, I have respect for elders generally, and I try, to always be respectful. But I left right when I know he was noticed because the person walked around her little kiosk and was headed to where he was behind me, and I was like, or so I was like, see now you're gonna start this, and I bet you he gave her the business, and she was just doing her job. She didn't want to do it. She was like. Yeah, here we go again with this adult realizing this. If kids can wear a mask all day long and get used to it, if you want to go out in the public that requires it, then this is something we have to do. COVID hasn't gone nowhere. Newsflash. And here's my thing. This last thing I'm gonna say on this because I harp all day about it. It's funny to me how some people don't want to wear masks and don't want to get the shot. So it's like, what do you want? What do you want? What can we do for you? Because I don't understand.
They don't know. They don't know. They don't know what they want. And that's, to be honest, and that's everybody. Because I feel like everybody has their choice to do what they need to do, but you also need to respect private businesses and private entities that don't. In your house, it's my house, right? So if somebody comes to my house, you I could tell them what they will and will not do. And
Right.
if they telling me what they will and will not do, then guess what? You won't be in my house. The same thing applies when you go outside
Yeah.
and you visit other people's homes or place
Homes.
of businesses.
Yeah.
You can't tell them what you will and will not do. It's just so crazy. But I want to I want to talk about, because you're one of the things I know, I'm, forgive me if I'm overstepping my bounds, but the thing that you're most proud of is your daughter and the human being that she's growing up to be, and the person that you're trying not mold, because she's going to be her own person, but the person you're trying to guide. Talk about that. Talk about that little being that was being watched by the dean when you were in your law classes, to the young lady that you have now. Talk about both of your growth during that period, then and now.
I mean, for someone who, so I should say that she is by far better than I'll ever be. She is just so kind and patient. I mean, she's like the Pied Piper of little kids. Little small kids love to play with her, and she's just so patient. And
She's a
even if
natural
she doesn't
leader.
really want to, she'll do. I mean, I can say that whenever if anyone will come to me and say she did something out of character, this ordinarily for a child, I'd say, well, you have to consider it, and you do. But I'd be shocked if it'd be some dastardly, nasty behavior. I'm like, this isn't who she is. Like, I've never, that's just not her personality. She's like, in so many ways, she's like my opposite, right? And so, she's very artistic. She can draw. She can make things. She can sew. Like, my mom can do all the things that one of my sisters can. I can't sew a button on a shirt, nor can I write my name clearly. I just facts. Full disclosure. And she can do all this, and off top of her head, she just starts doing things and making things. And I mean, it's just, I mean, that's one of her many talents. But she's just such a kind, smart person. In ways where I can be with my friends, smart but brash. Like, I'm like, you probably shouldn't do that. That shit's stupid. She can say the same thing, but in a much better way that someone's going to receive it, right? They're like, my friend listened to me. Did you? Your friend listened to you? My friend like, okay, I like the way you told me that shit. That shit was harsh. I'm like, but it was true. So I'm seeing her become her own person. I mean, she'll be 12 in a couple weeks, and that's crazy for me to think about. So we're going through the preteen mother-daughter semi-clashing.
Here we go.
That's like, and I'm like, gosh, where's that little girl who, I swear, I'm not just saying that because she's mine. She's a kid who never got sick, hardly ever cried. I mean, just like, and I always tell this story. I made a deal with her. I said, if you let me get through law school, let me pass the bar, you can act the bloody fool. And I swear, right after I took that exam in Atlantic City, and in July and August, when it was at 2011, she was like, game on. And then she started, she was in her terrible, twos at the time. And yeah, they're terrible as far as just ordinary toddler behavior goes. But I mean, she's such a good kid, and she tries really hard in everything she does. I mean, she plays the clarinet. She's really good at it. I sort of pushed the issue. She said she wanted to play. I said, hey, you're playing.
Why the clarinet?
I'm going to be honest. So I worked with a woman whose dad is like a composer, right? He is what he does for a living, and for orchestras and whatnot. So she had two daughters who played the clarinet. They didn't want to play anymore, but she had these two new clarinets she was selling for $50. So I said, hey, I'll take $50 for a clarinet that ain't hardly been used. You crazy? I'll take it. So I took it, and I was like,
not making her play an instrument because it was on sale. No.
I mean, the getting was good. I had to get it while I had, I paid $50.
To play this clarinet
here, So, but she, as much as she hems and haws about it, she's good at it. I mean, it's an artist in her, right? Where I wasn't really good at the trumpet. I mean, I guess if you give it to me, I can pretend to be Louis Armstrong, but Louis Armstrong, with a lung issue.
You could brag on her. When I hear autistic and I hear clarinet, I think of high IQ, very open to changing things, and you see that she's a natural leader. You say people follow her. So, man, that is just so awesome. Has she given you any inkling of what she wants to do when she grows up? School, what she wants to study? Now, this is where we go into the whole sorority thing, and if that's a possibility. How do you navigate them waters?
She has told me that she wants to be a teacher.
Okay.
Which I said, great, but you know what that means? You have to go to college, and she was like, I was like, you want to be a teacher? You got to go to college. So that's the last I've heard of that, which is great for me because mention my sorority. Well, I'm a member of Sigma Gamma Rho Sorority Incorporated, came through Beta Delta chapter at Temple, and our founders are teachers. So I was like, look at that. Look at that. See, it's like it's your calling, isn't it? It's like it's made for you to become a legacy. And so it would just make me really happy if she were to do that. And if she doesn't, you know, listen, I say, listen, you don't have to join a sorority, but if you don't join mine, you ain't joining none.
Wait a minute. You're just going to say that and just like, listen, honey, you don't have to join a sorority. But if you're going to join one, it's going to be mine or you ain't joining no one. Do you understand what I'm saying? Okay.
Like,
That,
don't let me find
listen.
out. I don't want to see no lanyards and some other colors. And so it's going to be a problem. Okay. No, half in jest.
Yes.
I'm half jesting here. I mean, I would.
No, it's full jest.
I have a lot of good friends. Huh?
Sig, it's full jest. You ain't playing.
Well, I have to say I have some really good friends who are in other sororities who I'm really cool with. And if for some reason things, you know, were to join their organizations, if for some reason she go to my yard and she joined their chapters, you know, I wouldn't be entirely devastated, right? I know they're old heads. I respect them, and it would be harmful. It would be painful to be like, damn, like it's like at two Brutus, you know, like at two Phoenix, like why? Like you want to say it back too?
See, let's talk about that a little bit because my aunt is a Delta. I know a couple AKAs. If it's one thing that I enjoy watching from afar, it's sorority Twitter. When somebody disrespects or somebody goes rogue or something, like the latest thing was with the insecure Amanda Seals wearing the letters and people feeling disrespected because they was like they didn't ask, they didn't, you know, they didn't like the way it was being portrayed or made fun of.
Mm-hmm.
Talk about how protective sorority sisters and members are of their sorority and their organization. Where does that come from?
This is where I had to think about how to answer that, because there's a way I could answer it, but there's a way I should answer it. So I'm going to answer the way I should. Okay. It just comes from hopefully such a place of affection for your organization and for your sisters. Particularly, you'll find people being closer to their chapter sorors, their line, those who came in with them, than they are, you know, necessarily with other sorors. I mean, that's not that they aren't as close or that they're not close to them, but there's a bond you have with those people you see every day. You know, that's just a natural thing. But you know, you work for something, you know, and you work hard for. It's like anything else. You work hard for it. You don't want anybody coming and leaving. You work hard for your car and you buy it, and someone come along with a key randomly humming or whistling down the street, keying your shit up. You're like, damn, I just worked for that. Like, how you want to do that to me? I mean, that's an extreme example, but you know what I'm saying? It's the same thing. It's like,
no, I get it.
You know, it's kind of like I gave so much of myself for this. It means a lot to me. That's why I did it. It means more to me now that I've obtained it. You're not going to disrespect it. It's kind of like, so I this is not a secret, but if you've ever been to Greek parties, you know, and we're strolling, don't cut the line. Like cutting in, like, I mean, don't walk in between a stroll. Like wait until the tail is like the last person is out of your way, and then walk behind. Don't cut right in the middle. Like that's a bad. That can get ugly depending on, you know, whose line you're cutting. So that's just the thing too. It's like, okay, we're doing something together now, and you're not going to come. Anybody isn't going to come and do that.
Disrespect it. Hey, you don't have to tell me. I understand. I've seen it firsthand with my aunt when, you know, she got to check somebody. So I get it. So now let's get to the fun part, the fun stuff before we go. Tell us something about you that people will be like, really?
Huh?
Like, no, I wouldn't have. Huh? Okay.
What about me that they would be shocked to learn? I don't know. I would say maybe that I am a lover of the bard, right?
Now, what is the bard?
Shakespeare.
So you're Shakespearean.
I have a handful of plays. that I'm in love with, and I actually have several tattoos that relate to to William. Or as I say, if he was from South Philly, we call him like Billy Pins, right? He'd be Billy Pins.
Would he have an accent? Would William Shakespeare have an accent? Would he have a South Philly accent?
He would. He'd be asking for hoagies, and he'd be, you know what I'm saying? Like he'd be after Jimmy's on his ice cream, and he want Italian hoagie. That's what he would want. You know?
Does thou not have it Jimmy's?
Yeah.
Oh.
The hell lacks the hoagies in this John. I mean, might even toss a good John if he's a modern, you know, if he's from South Philly nowadays. And he'd wear green, you know, because in this world the Eagles will be present. But no, I do. Our favorite play has to be Hamlet. Just because there's a thing about the layers on that, right? It's not just a bit on sanity or madness, betrayal,
sanity, madness, lust, incest,
right? You know,
the gamut,
the supernatural, which brings me to number 2, which might be that I am a believer in the supernatural. Absolutely. So,
you mean like Ghostbusters and
well, if there were well, I guess a ghost that can be busted, yeah, like paranormal activity, sure, like things we can't explain.
So let me ask you this. So I don't know if you saw the social media video that goes around when they'll be like, when black people hear noise versus when white people hear noise. So which one are you? Because you're clearly black, but you love ghosts. So if you hear a noise right now, how do you react?
Well, first, I'm going to say something. I'm going to say this, and I know people are going to be teasing me about it. I don't care. I'm just going to be. I know for a fact, like there are things that I've experienced that I can't explain. Right? I don't mean Casper type things. Like, you know, Casper didn't come in, float, and give me a treat and leave in the wall. You know what I'm saying? That shit didn't happen. But for instance, like hearing things coming on that aren't supposed to come on because nobody else in the house, shit like that. Like, so to answer your question, if I were to hear something right now, if I was alone in here and I heard if I heard the refrigerator door open and I know ain't nobody here but me, I'm not going downstairs and look. I know ain't nobody in here. I'm gonna figure out how to get out. It's happened before. True story. I'm gonna tell the story, and you know, and whatever. But I gonna leave identities out because maybe they won't be a part of this madness. But there was a time when I was in that house alone, and all of a sudden I heard a click, and the ceiling fan just came on, and the light came on too, and it went out by myself. So I ran out the house, and I must have had like. I think I had drawers on or something. It was something appropriate, but I didn't care. I ran out the house and got in the car and was like calling people, like, you gotta come home because
please tell me it was the summertime because that seat was cold as hell.
I had to get out. I knew was nobody in there. Things was in daycare. I knew was nobody in the house. Now, like that shouldn't happen. Either there's somebody who snuck in here just to turn this motherfucking light on, which is weird, right? If somebody gonna stay in this house, they gonna do more shit and turn on this light, right? and that tells me there ain't no person turning on this damn light. I got to go. So
you get pulled over by police. And they like, hey man.
I didn't drive. I just sat in the driveway and watched. I was like, I'm gonna watch because I don't see someone came out. Came home, checked, was like, is somebody in here? And it's like, oh.
Oh my God.
Safety first. But
so you know, Sig, I can't leave without getting your take on the Eagles this year. What's your thoughts and how do you feel about Nick and Jalen Hurts?
Wow. I was one of those who thought Doug deserved more time. It was the way he was ousted was still to this day to me mind-boggling. It's like, what? Like when I found out, I was shocked. Like, okay, I hope they have a good reason. Then, as the search went on, I was hearing these names that were coming and going. They were getting hired. They were, and I was like, all of a sudden I heard about this guy. I'm just like, who? And listen, I still don't know if I'm saying his name right. Sirianni. I don't know because that's how insignificant he is to me. He is a man who wears pandering t-shirts. He got like a lifetime membership at like T Public or Threadless.
No, fans are sending him them damn t-shirts. And
Oh, they're doing it? Stop it.
Yes.
Stop sending him those damn things. It's fucking annoying. He thinks he's so cool.
Especially when you ain't winning. Like, he came in all wrong. Like, those shirts, they may buy you a little time with the peasants, but with the real fans, we like, I'll choke you with that shirt. You better win. You better run the damn ball. You better have an offense like you know what the hell you're doing. So I
just have to ask a question, and maybe you know the answer. No one can tell me. But what does Howie Roseman have on Jeffrey Lurie? Like, what kind of dirt does he have? Like, he must have he must have some crazy Watergate type shit on Jeffrey Lurie to still have a position. He's done nothing of substance for a very long time now. Yet he has the most longevity and job security of anyone in the organization. And how did Nick S get this bloody job? Like, I don't even understand it. The whole coaching staff is a bunch of like a JV team. They're like not even JV coaches, JV team running a professional football league. It's a little bit embarrassing to see these guys in action on Sundays on the sideline, most of the time looking lost and very confused.
Do you want the real-time answer to that question, or you want the diplomatic answer?
I want the real-time answer to that question, of course, Prince.
Jeffrey Lurie, Howie Roseman. Lurie Roseman. We about to have this conversation. Lurie Roseman. Roseman Jewish. Lurie Jewish.
Is Lurie? I didn't know Lurie was Jewish.
Yes. Howie is the son or brother that Lurie never had, and they're going to stick to each other. They're going to give each other as long as they can give it. Because if that was Louis Riddick or Tyrone Basil or any type of other black GM, gone. But I'm telling you, whatever Howie has on Lurie, clearly it's good enough for him to continue to keep his job. And that Super Bowl has done nothing but bought Howie more time. Howie has survived Andy Reid, Chip Kelly, Banner, Heckert, Doug, Carson, Cobb, you name it. He's lasted all of that. And that's because at its core in the NFL or any sports, it's the good old boy system. They're going to keep them jobs, and they're going to keep them. The only way that Howie's going to get fired is if those seats are empty, that team completely turns on that coach, or Howie gets caught in the email scandal or something that's irreprehensible. That's the only way he's going to get out. So that's answering your question. And if people are offended, I'm sorry. Don't act like there has not been the good old boy system in everything that we call America. It is what it is. And that's why Howie keeps his job as long as he do. That's why a lot of coaches keep their job as long as they do. That's why they have to incentivize you interviewing black candidates for any position in the NFL.
Right.
There's a Rooney Rule for a reason.
Yeah. Well, I would certainly hope that that's not the case for Jeffrey for obvious reasons. But assuming arguendo that was the case, and I hope it's not. I'm not saying that it is, but is there not anyone who can do a better job, who fits the qualifications you're looking for in a general manager?
Yes.
Is Howie the only person you can find? Because he's not doing a good job.
He's the only person that Lurie trusts. And right now, I think the Eagles are worth like 2-point-something billion. So, I mean, we're still buying jerseys. We're still buying memorabilia, whatever. So, Lurie's not in a rush to oust Howie.
What's it going to take? Like, I want to just make some. I'm just joking here. I want to just make some fugazi ass emails and make it from like an email account that says like Howie Roseman at gmail.com or something and send some inflammatory shit
No,
just to get him out of here because I'm tired of it.
no,
I'm tired of it. I mean,
I
I'm
know
not
what
gonna do that. Full disclosure, just joking. Don't send me no shit,
please,
y'all.
no, stop it. Sig is just playing, y'all. Don't do that. Now, Sig, let me ask you this before we get up out of it. Your last sentence was destroying the patriarchy.
Mm-hmm.
What exactly? I'm gonna do a Drewski. What do you mean by that?
Oh man, so in a very literal sense, like the patriarchy is a system or government society where the father or the eldest male is in charge of the family unit, right? But in the world of the inclusive feminist, it is just a system of oppression. It's the imbalance of power that men have over women. It's the fugazi. It's the very harmful, fake, made up, innate superiority of the male over the man over the woman, and it hurts not only the women. And that's why when I say that, people say, "Well, I'm a man, I don't really care," but it hurts men. It hurts men too, because the way the women go, so goes the world, right? We don't get credit for it, but that's because patriarchy, right? We've always been subjugated. Our opinions matter less. We work twice as hard for a little pay. All that I can talk all the time. But I want to dismantle the system where men have all the power, women are subjugated. There are more women in places of authority and real places of authority with real power to make change, not just figureheads with no real authority, with no ability to make change, because that's useless. It will benefit everybody to have this equity amongst us. And also, it hurts men on a very practical level, because let's say if you think, for instance, you don't have to prepare as hard for something because your adversary is a woman. Little do you know, you really did, because she wipes the floor with your ass, not you, but she wipes the floor with a man's ass. Now he's butthurt. Not only that, he might be out of a job. His family might be out of an income. He might have, at the very least, lost an opportunity to learn and grow because he thought he was, by very nature, being born with a penis or being born with the identity of a man, he is better than a woman. And that's, for me, is at the core of it. Your penis doesn't make you better than me. I'm sorry. I don't really know why you would think it does, but apparently that's the thinking of the patriarchy, and it's harmful and it's overdue for dismantling. So I like to do that as much as I can. I say,
yeah, no. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
And my last thing I say is, like, I do that in subtle ways sometimes, even when I'm making appearances. If I feel that my adversary is being extra contentious with me, and we have like our first appearance somewhere back when we were doing actual appearances, I make it a point that I would dress extra like Mr. Monopoly. Like, I'd have like a 3-piece suit on with like a monocle around somewhere, like a pocket watch. Like, I just go over the top. And it would just toss them so much off their game. They spend all the time looking at me in this getup and wondering why the hell she had the balls, or, so to speak, to do that. And they're totally off the game. But that's me saying, you don't own this suit. You don't own the ability to wear that. I can wear this as much as you can, and I'm going to wear it. Like, I'm wearing it better than you, and I'm going to come out victorious at this thing. So you can go lick your wounds with an inferior suit there, sir. And I want to take your patriarchy and misogyny with you. I should say this, that women can help, unfortunately, uphold this system, as well as they can help maintain the misogyny that's often related and rampant. Women can be a part of the problem too. For other reasons we can talk about for another time, but everyone who supports patriarchy needs to understand that it's very harmful and innately unfair.
This is my issue with, not with what you said, but the whole problem with the whole patriarchy thing in itself. I don't wake up thinking, because I'm the man, certain things should just happen automatically. because there's a lot of men out there that's not ready for anything. Like everybody, the whole thing now, everybody want to be a king. What people say, king shit. What is king shit? It's so subjective. What is king? King shit is not my woman making my plate first. That's not king shit. To me, king shit is y'all eat, and if it's something left over, I will eat. King shit is taking care of your family first.
Right.
Um, king shit is making sure that things are running smoothly and making sure everybody is okay underneath the household. Where I sometimes butt head with the whole patriarchy thing is I clearly have weaknesses. Newsflash, I don't care. This ain't no simp shit. This is real shit. I have weaknesses. Me and my wife got together, and I kid you not, we were sitting in my apartment, and we just moved in together, and we were talking about like bills being paid and stuff like that. And I remember, I kid you not, my wife went to check. She wasn't my wife. She was my girl. She went to check the mailbox. She came upstairs and she said, "Hey, there's a notice in here from it wasn't Direct TV. It was Spectrum." And she said, "It's a cutoff notice." You know what I asked her? I said, "What is the color of the notice?" She said it's white. I was like, "Oh, that's okay. If it's like orange, then they're about to cut it off." And I kid you not, that next morning I woke up, it was cut off. You know what my wife said? Then girlfriend, she said, "Yeah, no more. I got the bills. I got them because you clearly just. I know how I am.
Right.
So my thing is working together to build a strong home. I get it. Everybody wants these roles. Like I'm the man, alpha, alpha, alpha. Okay, call yourself the alpha. Fine, do it, do it, do it. Are you really an alpha, or are you just a penis inside the home? Alphas do alpha things. If you want to put labels on now, it's this alpha king shit. If you want to get it, if you're a true alpha, everything is good. If you're a true alpha, when your woman doesn't roll her eyes when she think about you when she's out and about. So if my woman, like I'm retired now, so my wife, she works full time, she has her own business, and she takes care of the kids, and she takes care of me. It's no I don't get into the whole, well, I'm the man and you the woman, so you got to do this, you got to do that. Because now, guess what? Since I'm stay-at-home dad, I take the kids to school. I make sure the kids are got something to eat. I make sure the dog is out and all that other
Right.
stuff that traditionally is the role for the woman. But I do that. That's
Right.
why the whole patriarchy thing to me is muddled because times are changing and we need to adapt with the changes. Do we need to emasculate our men or make our women be submissive and be thought of as less than? No. So I understand exactly where you're coming from. It's just my issue with people get hung up on the civil war of man versus woman when it should be man with woman making things better for each other.
Oh yeah, no, I agree. And one thing I'll say is that I think that most people who clamor for the for the demise of the patriarchy is talking about the system itself. Like it's the foundation of the imbalance of power that has to go. It's not individual people, right? Because an individual man in and of itself can portray signs of the patriarchy. He isn't the patriarchy, right? And he
Mm-hmm.
might be a symptom of it. He might have got his PhD in it, but
Mm-hmm.
but if he did get that degree, someone taught him. And the issue is that people are taught this, and that people are taught this without even knowing they're taught it. And where it comes out the most harmful is in employment, in medicine, because we know that women's complaints aren't taken as seriously for whatever reason, even in childbirth. When you are literally the one pushing out a person, sometimes your concerns go unwarranted and you might pay with your life. So it's in those healthcare situations, those employment situations that matter so greatly to everyone, but particularly to women who are starting at such a disadvantage as it is. I think that's where the issue with patriarchy comes. Certainly not in individual households. I don't think that makes a much of a difference, except for in the lives of those individual people. I will say that yeah, I'm all for the sharing of responsibilities. I don't like the beating on the chest of course, I know this, what I run this castle, or this is it. It's like, no, it's a unit. Everyone works together, and where one person can pick up the slack, the other person should pick up the slack, and that can be wherever you happen to be in that relationship. If you were not good, like you said, she was better with bills. The girl with bills made sense. Like, why would you keep struggling with something you're not good at when she can do it, and vice versa? So I agree with you 100%. I think there's a line of talking about systemic issues and then individual issues, but they're all related, aren't they? It's a very complex scenario, which is why we haven't dismantled it, right? It's still here.
Yeah.
I'm trying hard.
So let me ask you. So let me ask you this thing. So what do you think? Why is it such a big deal? Try to think of it from both sides. Why is it such a big deal to keep the same roles, quote unquote, gender roles, patriarchy in place versus people who want to dismantle it? Why are people trying to hold on, and why are people trying to dismantle it just as much?
Oh, well, the easiest answer is that people are trying to hold on because they've benefited greatly from it, right? And so why would you want to give up what you think has given you an advantage, even if you don't really understand what that advantage is? I think I think most people will recognize that men are paid more than women.
Yes.
And it also depends on the color of the individuals, of course, the race of the persons. But even still, there's not a woman who makes as much as a man of any color. It's not the way it works. So that's a problem in of itself.
Serena Williams makes more than me playing tennis.
Well, yes. So okay. So I mean, Serena may make a little more than you. I don't know how it is after Texas comes out, but we'll just say she does. Yeah. No. I mean, of course, I'm speaking in generalities, right?
Yeah.
But so that's one reason why people want to hold on to it, because they're comfortable in it, right? And change is scary. And then when some people hear I'm destroying the patriarchy or whatever, they're frightened by such violent terms, right? Such forceful terms, when all we're really saying is equity, and treat me as an equal, as you would one of your friends who may or may not be a woman, but treat me as a person. I'm not beneath you because of my characteristics, right? Mm-hmm. Let my performance or my character or whatever I'm being judged on in the workplace be the reason why I don't get a position, or why something adverse happens to me. Don't let the way I appear, and the same thing goes for race or any other immutable characteristic, or any other characteristic where you can be judged upon fairly. It goes to say that not be why I don't get ahead.
I'm so glad you brought that up, because okay. You've been following me for a long time, and for some reason, some people got the impression that I'm quote unquote, I can be sexist, or I don't, I'm always coming for women. No, because I'm always shouting out the Malika Andrews of the world, the Mina Kimes of the world, the Doris Burks, the Hannah Storms, the Robin Roberts, many women that have trailblazed and are ascending. My issue, and this gets into you when you talk about the appearance, is a woman can't help that she is attractive and that she's beautiful. But when you're sitting there and you're on a sports show and you clearly don't know what you're talking about, how else from the outside in, how else are we supposed to figure out why are you in the position that you're in now? Like, what is your purpose? Right. And you being a woman, like you said, you'll show up in a suit, because that'll throw people completely off, because they're expecting you to show up in probably a tight pencil skirt or your hair down, be flirting or whatever. But you show up like, while you focusing on my clothes, I'm running laps around you and we getting this stuff done. So
and I love
talk
suits.
Right. Yes. And you look very good in them. So tell me what is your thing about women now in the workplace, and some of the necessarily, I guess you want to say attire or
Mm-hmm.
how they operate in those spaces. Talk about some things that you like and some things that you don't like.
Um, a few things. I am very grateful. I'm very fortunate that I work with a firm who is very, very open and very, very liberal. And so I'm fortunate that way. And I say that because for a long time, especially when I was in Texas, I knew for a fact that I wasn't getting positions because of my hair. And my hair was shorter then. And I didn't have, I wasn't getting these creative styles done to it. So it really was just neatly twisted and pulled back. And that wasn't going to work because I had locks. Like I particularly, recall an inquiry about would I be willing to cut my hair, and the answer absolutely not. So thanks for no thanks.
Before you go on, say a little bit. I'm still trying to figure out what about your hair says you can't do your job. Now I can see if you like work with equipment and it could get stuck in the equipment. That's why they have a strict policy. But I just it's 2021 and we're still having issues with locks and everything else. But I see people with wet, greasy hair and mohawks, frohawks, axe spray, tiger sharks, whatever you want to call it. Go ahead. I'm sorry, but go ahead with what you were saying.
But along those lines, I know a woman who had purple hair and had a government gig on a military installation, and I was like, oh, well, it seems that her totally unnatural purple hair is somehow okay, but my neatly retwisted locks. This is always I make a point because I'm a werewolf. I swear, like full moon, I gotta go. If it's full moon, I gotta go. I can't. I'm a werewolf. I have to get my shit retwisted every 3 weeks. 4 if I push it. After that, it's every man for himself. Like there are probably people living in there, so I know I keep it retwisted. So whenever someone, that's true. It could be a person in right now. Who knows? But like I know. So whenever I would get that shameful rejection, I knew it was a consequence of the hair. I knew it was just because of the way it was, because it was locked and it wasn't pressed and straightened, or how they wanted it, which is ridiculous. Now it's changing. It's a little bit better. It still depends on where you are in the arena. Perhaps a firm in which you work may be a little less forgiving. Like maybe I can have locks, but I had to keep it in a bun, like a simple bun, or maybe I could only wear it. I mean, who knows? I'm fortunate enough to have to worry about that right now, so I don't. I take advantage of the fact that I kind of have leeway with that. But along the attire, I mean, it's always hard. I mean, it's always hard for a woman to get it right because there's always these fine lines. There are so many things we have to consider with getting dressed. For instance, you said, is this shirt too tight? It may not be my fault, but I found a line of shirts that I like so much that doesn't have that irritating button gap that you get when you have button down shirts. You can't help it. You got a bra. What the hell you do? Not wear a bra. That's a problem. So I have to wear it, and now I got an irritating gap, and I'm conscious of it, right? And maybe I got a cardigan I put over a freaking button down because that's there. Or maybe these pants are a little too snug, not on purpose. Or maybe it's because your appearance counts so much more, I think, than a man's does. If that makes sense, like even if it's not purposeful, you're always judged. Case in point, if you haven't watched it, you should watch it. It was what was it? American Crime Story that Ryan Murphy did about the O.J. Simpson trial. He did a great job with Marsha Clark's, with Sarah Paulson's depiction of Marsha Clark. I can remember, that was a small child, but I can remember they gave her the business because she had this hair and it was like sort of like a jerry curl or something happened to her when she came to court one day. And even the judge
was a Jewish fro.
It was crazy. And even the judge was like, had questioned her about her appearance, I believe. And I'm just like, I think that's right. But anyway, it was a big thing. That's all people talked about was her opinion, was her appearance. Not that she's a prosecutor, right? Not that she has a heavy load to lift. Let's put something else on her plate who represents the people, right? Forget that you're representing the people's interests. Let's talk about her appearance. Same thing with Hillary Clinton, right? It's about her pantsuits, right? It's talk about, her shoes. It's talk about something like that. It's like, okay, it's what's wrong with her shoes? Like it's always like you can't win. It's like I wear a pantsuit and the
Damnedest you
pantsuit look
do,
wrong.
damnedest
I
you.
wear a dress, the dress
Yeah.
too short. What do you want from me? Like and this is a person who says I should be able to walk down the street naked and no one has the right to touch me. Like my nakedness is not your invitation to touch. And if you can't control your hands, ma'am, sir, then stay the hell in the house. Wear gloves, but in the country, I don't know what you have to do, but you don't have the right to touch me. The same thing goes with attire. My attire doesn't give you the right to disrespect me. Now you can if you want, and I can respond to your disrespect. But I mean, I know people. I didn't say this, but I know one particular person. She dresses the way that I don't like. I wouldn't wear it. But I don't say anything to her. It's not my place, and she's not going to change. But she's super smart and she's productive, and she does her job well. We're not in the same field, but from what I see, she does very well. I'm like, okay, you dress like I wouldn't dress to go off. You're doing a job that you're paid to do. You're doing it well. I mean, it's always about it. That's why hairstylists, salons, makeup, facial products are such a big market, are such big aspects of our market, because why? Who's the consumer, right? Who is the consumer for these things? Mostly women, some men, of course, but mostly women. And and there's a reason for that. We have the whole retinol, anti-wrinkle cream aisles, right? You don't see a lot of men. It's not you don't see a lot of advertisements for men to use it, although they can. But why aren't they getting pushed to use it? They got wrinkles too, or what? Do only women get wrinkles?
I mean, listen, you preach to the choir. I was just trying to figure out, like, why is it such a big deal when it comes to attire? Because there's this thing now on TikTok about gym attire, and because you have some women that set up a camera in the gym to record themselves, and men are legit like just working out, and they'll post a video like, he's walking past, he's looking at me, and I kid you not,
I haven't seen
promise
that.
you, I go to the gym, and I promise you, the last thing I'm thinking about is Susie with the little shorts on over there. I want to get my workout on, and I want to get out. Like, I'm telling you, like, it. Sometimes I wonder what women be thinking when they think that, every man is a predator. It's like, it's not. We're at the gym. If you're like, it's the other day I was working out, and I kid you not, a woman was doing a hip thrust in front of the mirror, in front of my mirror where I was at. So I'm like, I'm trying my best to be every which way, because you can't. Because I kid you not, I'll end up on TikTok where they'll be like, look at him staring at me. It was every mirror in here, and he's in front of my mirror, and I'm like, no, that's not what happened. So that's the part that bothers me, because it's like, when it's real, because there's really some creepy, grimy, predatorial pieces of shit out there. But if you're making up shit like that over nothing, then when something happens, that's why people are more likely to shrug, and and shrug it away, because we have no room. It's like, it's nothing else. We thought it was a safe place in the gym. Now it's not safe. Now you got women doing all, and you at the gym, you trying to get it work on, and then you become a video on social media talking some you was being a creeper, and you wasn't. So I don't know what to think anymore. I don't know what to do. I don't know where to put my eye placement.
You better tell me, like, I hope I'm doing this right. I can't see.
You work out. Tell me, like, what are men supposed to do?
I think that for people who are taking advantage of the moment, which is a heightened awareness of the predatory behavior you've spoken of just now, of the constant thing. I will say, and I know I put it in there that I have to say I love true crime. I'm an attorney who loves true crime. I don't do criminal law. I did that briefly for a little bit early in my early stages. I don't do it, but I guess maybe it's because I listen to that all the time. But I know that, I know for a fact personally that I'm always on alert when I'm in the streets. Where I'm aware of my surroundings. I'm teaching my kid to do the same thing because unfortunately, people will try to target you because they think they can, right? And women, unfortunately, are more of the targets. It's unfair, but we have to worry about, being attacked or being sexually assaulted more in our minds than men do, or that we think men do, although men can also be targets. I'm not saying that they can't. But so when I see people like that, who I didn't know that was a thing. People recording people. I have never heard of that or seen it. But if that's happening, these are opportunists who are taking advantage of an attempt to effectuate real change in the conversation and want to get on TikTok or be somebody or go viral or some silly shit like that and making it bad or possibly watering down this moment because they want to make mountains out of nothing. Not even molehills. There's nothing. There's no sand. There's no dirt. It's nothing. Nothing grows here. It's like anybody who gets my mirror. Now I don't have a mirror, but when I used to go in the mirrors, or if I have to go into an area with mirrors for a minute, I can't stand when anybody comes in where I'm already at. And I'm not looking in the mirror. I'm just in front of it for the weight, probably getting it. You go right behind me and start that silly shit. I was already here. I'm staying here now out of principle. Mm-hmm. But you could have went somewhere else, sir, man.
Right, and that's the part. Right, and I get that part. Like, if it's a whole bunch of space and you coming behind me or you go behind a woman, you gotta. Now, if she's in front of the weights and you gotta get the weights, excuse me, ma'am, can I get this or something like that? But it's like these people are like, they're legit like recording a man
just working out,
saying, yeah, I was here first and now look at him. And of course people are jumping in the comments, yeah, what a creep. Like, and I'm like, he's a creep for doing a deadlift? Like, I
don't like that. It's wrong. It's wrong. It's wrong to be recording people like that in the gym anyway. Like, once you get there to work out, I record my lifts primarily for me to, my first goal is for me to check technique. And if I was, working too hard or not hard enough in a certain segment, and if it's something silly, never am I ever going into the gym saying, look at someone else work out. Like, look what this person's over here doing. I see some crazy shit. So the fact that people are doing that is wrong. Let me tell you something. I don't have it in me to do it. I'll never do it because I think it's wrong. But man, some of the shit I see, like this morning, I was like, this is not real, is it? Like, I'm looking around for like the cameras hidden underneath my shin. Like, it's got to be some kind of joke. This ain't no real movement. But whatever. So she boat.
Listen, I used to think the same thing, but then somebody told me, they was like, they're in here. And I was like, right. But then I do be wondering, I'm like, did they find that in a book? Am I doing my movement wrong? Like, what is that? Like, man, listen. But
everybody sees somebody on TV do something and they do it, not realizing that doing a snatch is a technical lift. It takes practice and time, and you, sir, think you're going to do it like Matt Fraser and not break your neck. Good luck.
No, ma'am. Some of that shit you be no, ma'am. No.
Nothing I do is special. It's just time and a willingness to suffer. That's just it.
Not me. I'm still trying to master the sit-up. I ain't about to be doing all that. Nah, man. I need to be stationary moving that weight.
Here's an idea. We should get like an Eagles Twitter. Oh, by the way, answer your last question that you have about Eagles. I'm on the fence about Hurts. I really haven't seen a really good game since maybe the first one. He's like, he's only throwing 10 passes a game. Who can judge a person on 10 passes a game? I don't know. Not me. Maybe. But I digress. We should get like an Eagles Twitter, like WOD. Like, we should get it. Like, we should find like a box that like we can do drop-ins or something. And or anywhere that has a garage, one has a garage space for whoever, and just do like a WOD. And I think
how many people you think will actually show up besides me and probably a couple more people? Because next week I'm going home and I'm supposed to be doing a lift with the barbell Barbies, which is Brit lifts and I am just Allen. So we're doing deadlift, bench, and squat. Those are the 3 events that we're doing. And listen, I'm just gonna go in there. I'm trying to have fun. I'm not as technically savvy as the rest of you ladies, but listen, I'm gonna go in there. I'm gonna have fun. I'm gonna try to see where I've been at with my own personal training, and that's what it's all about. It's all about just
Fun.
enjoying what you're doing. Like I used to hate going to the gym, but now if I don't go, I'm cranky. If I don't go, I'm like I'm in a bad mood because it
Yeah.
helps me mentally. It helps me physically. It helps me, be into a place to where I feel like I'm getting better every day. Do I struggle with like, I had to throw my scale away because I used to let that dictate me, but now I let my clothes dictate me. I let my energy level dictate me, and I let my diabetes dictate um how I'm feeling and the progress I made. And I know that I'm a hell of a lot better today than I was yesterday, and that's all that
Right.
matters. So
Get
yeah.
better every day. Just 1% better, or get better as much as you can every day for you, right? Like
Hmm.
the scale can be a horrific thing because it's a number, but let's take into consideration other factors, right? Numbers,
Hmm.
like weight is such a tricky thing. It's not like it's black and white. People want it to be, oh, eat less, lose weight. Okay. Okay, if that was that simple, then everyone who wanted to do it would do it, right? Eat, exercise, lose some weight.
Right,
No, not so simple.
right,
And
right.
it's
And
bullshit.
and I used to make jokes under your like your videos where I'll be like, I'm about to cry into this donut or to this Debbie cake. Legit, sometimes I had those things in my hand while watching your videos of you doing some crazy shit. I'll be like, man, damn it, Sig. I'm gonna eat this donut. I'm gonna eat this Debbie cake. I'm gonna eat this cheeseburger. She ain't gonna make me feel bad
It's
because she
everything in
in there.
moderation. I've learned that, and I said everything but working out for me because I don't do moderation in that.
No,
But
you
everything else in
don't.
my
No,
life,
you do
I
not.
don't. And tattoos, and working out are something I don't know how to moderate. There are problems for me, and I'm not seeking help. So I'm just telling you, I'm just
Well,
not doing it.
listen.
Huh?
At least you admitted to your problem. So
I mean,
there
I
you
have
go.
to. I want to be honest, right? But everything moderation. You can have that donut or whatever. I don't believe in like in the deprivation routine
Hmm.
because it doesn't work, right? When you deprive yourself of things, all it does is when you get it, you go nuts, right? You get so
Oh.
like Cookie Monster. We want cookies, we want donuts or whatever. We want pizza. You're going nuts because you didn't have it for 4 weeks. Now you're going to eat 2 pieces. Back to back.
Fact.
It's just like it's just
Yeah.
ridiculous. Why not have a pizza a week if you want? Is it going to set you back all your goals? Not if you're working, not if your diet is otherwise healthy. Not if other factors. Are you sleeping? Are you recovering? Are you drinking enough water? I mean, those things matter too. And those go underappreciated. When you think about the food intake all the time, we don't think about the recovery, the sleep, and the water. All those things matter. So I work out because I love it. It's where I find peace. It's super cheap therapy. It's a break from
I
some heavy
love
shit
that.
at work,
I
and
love that. I love
it's
that. Super cheap therapy. I
it,
love that.
because when I don't go, as you said, everyone's like getting around here like, can you go to the gym? Did you go today? Like, no, like you need to go to the gym. We're going to work out. We're going to the garage or some shit because I'm miserable and I need to work out. And even if I got up at 4:15 most mornings. Even though when the alarm goes off, I'm like, fuck, I'd rather stay in bed. I know that I feel better once my feet are on the floor. I'm better off than if I stayed in bed and got 2 more hours of sleep. Then what? So what? I have 120 minutes more of sleep. I could have got that somewhere else, right? I mean, I mean, sometimes you need to rest and you do, but sometimes you do need to get up and just move. So no Eagle squad then, huh? Maybe I'll scratch that off the list of things to
Yeah,
do.
don't yeah. Not in the land of the cheesesteak. You ain't getting that. Um, listen, like this has been great. It was only supposed to be an hour. It ended up being an hour and 38
Oops.
minutes. And that only happens when I'm really interested and I really like what the guests are talking about. And Sig, this has been phenomenal. I am so honored and I thank you for coming on and being awesome and just like I'm just gonna tell you now, if I had your resume, man, listen, I would be like, listen, hey, you know I could have went to Temple, right? But I was in Arizona, so I stayed there, and I took my LSAT, and whatever. I'm like, in a law firm or something like that. But you know, you're phenomenal, and your reputation has preceded you. Like you're everything that, you know, our mutual says about you.
Well, he's
he
also fantastic, as you know.
oh, he
Such a great
knows.
guy.
He knows, but I try not to tell him a lot, because then, you know, he'll levitate. But that's my guy, man.
Yeah.
I shout out to Chip Reederson, man. Love you, bro. I'll talk to you soon. But Sig, thank you so much. Do you even want people to know where they can find you at, like on social
Yeah.
media? Or go ahead, tell them.
Sure. So first of all, you didn't say I was an AKA, did you?
No, I said
Oh,
my aunt said Delta. I
okay.
know it. I know AKAs.
Okay.
I didn't say you were.
I just wanted to
No.
make sure. I thought I heard. I was like, wait a minute. I got to ask about that because I
No,
can't leave that
no,
floating out
no.
there.
I know, no, no.
Okay.
I know better. I
Okay.
know better. I know. No.
Very well. I can be found usually perusing your tweets without making much of a comment because my life is a mess, and you know I don't have time to tweet most of the time. But at Sigma Esquire 03, I pop in and pop out, as Prince said there, but I tend to answer at within 3 to 4 business days. So yeah, kind of use 3 to
She
5.
ain't lying, y'all. She ain't lying. Just stay patient.
Yeah, I'll get to you. And on Instagram, with my Thy Signum Come, which is like THYSIG DOMCOME. You know, it's a play on what was that? Of Thy Kingdom Come, right? It's a play on that. So I'm here all week. Not really. I'm leaving in a minute. But just kidding. But anyway, yeah, you can find me on there, fooling around. Come say hi. It's been fun, Prince. Thanks for having me. I had a blast. I don't have much to do on Friday nights anymore. I'm wash.com. You can also find me there, wash.com. That's where you can find it too.
If I'm with you, what do you think I am? I'm triplewash.com. I've been washed since 2012. That's when I met my wife. Like I hung it up. I hung it up. Like I was like, I hung up whatever people hang up when they wash. I hung them up. But thank you so much, Sid. I appreciate it. Thank you everybody for joining us. Please like and share this. Take care of yourselves, and I will see you. I don't think I'm gonna see you next week because I'm gonna be back home next week. I'm coming back to Philadelphia, Jersey. I'm gonna see a lot of people, hopefully, and I'm gonna have a lot of fun. And for people asking why I haven't been on Twitter, I haven't been on Twitter because I want to enjoy coming back home, and I don't want to be seeking and trying to destroy people who think they're Billy Badasses on Twitter. So I just eliminated that. So people that know me got my number. If they want to get at me, they have been talking to me, and I've been talking to them. So thank you so much, everybody. Good night, Sig. Stay here. I'm going to do my intro out. And everybody, be good. Eat cake.
Bye.
I don't know. Bye.
Yeah.